This is your guide to how to bet NBA divisions. And we're going through the process of betting all these different things in the NBA. So we did how to bet various awards, and now we're transitioning to futures bets. We're going to talk about divisions. Next week, we'll talk about conference and title odds. And then we'll talk about win totals before we actually start breaking it down week by week. We'll get into the actual win total guide, division by division. But division winner sometimes is valuable. And Brandon, for me, when we look at these division odds, the way I've started to frame looking at division is it's a counter option to your win totals bet. So if you're looking at the landscape of these teams, and people forget the divisions are a thing in the NBA. Like Zach Lowe is always joking about this, about how he doesn't know what division the teams are in. And it's actually a really important thing in the NBA. And everyone listening is like, get out of here. It's not important. Come on. Nobody raises a banner for division. It's true. You should not raise it. It goes up in practice facilities most times. Divisions are important for a number of reasons. One, if you win your division, you're probably going to get a top 4 seed. It's not guaranteed anymore, but it's very likely that if you win your division, you're going to get a top 4 seed. Two, division matters a lot in tiebreaker. A lot. If you split the season series with the team 2-2, but you won the division, guess what? You get that tiebreaker. If it's a 3-team tie and you won your division, the other 2 teams didn't. Guess who gets that tiebreaker? You do, because you're the division winner. Division winner still has a big, meaningful place in deciding how seedings are established, which we'll also talk seedings bets in upcoming episodes as well when we talk about win totals. But for me, Brandon, division is a way you get longer odds because you're basically playing these teams versus the others. But if you look at a win total and you go, I like the over here by a certain magnitude, I think they're going to be way above that. You should always be looking to see if you're going to get better return on the number based off of betting the division rather than just the win total.
Yeah, so you really just made the case for, listeners who have been listening to both of us. Basically, you made the case for why Brandon loves betting divisions because this is a way for me to bet longer numbers and bigger payouts, which that's my thing, going for that ROI. But it's a way for me to bet the extremes, to kind of bet the outliers and say, okay, what if this team has a bottom 10 or 20 percentile season? And though they're the favorite, what door does that open? What if this other team has a top 10 percentile season? What's that look like? And how much ground can they close? Can they get to a division lead? And I think, too, for most divisions, you can effectively rule out a team or two. These are all 5-team divisions. So really, these end up coming down to almost a head-to-head bet or a 1 of 3 bet. So I love betting divisions because when I bet on a team, more often than not, that's also a way that I'm fading another team. So it's like, all right, well, I don't like X and Y about this team. I do like this about the other team. I can kind of parlay those together as a concept into a division bet. So I think there's a lot there with these divisions. I personally, this will not come as a surprise to you, I don't bet a lot of division favorites because I don't feel like that's really the right angle to go on these, especially some of these favorites we're going to get at like a minus 400 in the preseason. I don't see the value of that. Like the season is long, a lot can go wrong. And even if you're right, you tied up your money a long time to get back like 20 cents on the dollar after that. So I do think though, the divisions, when we did the podcast last year, these are ones we're going to come back to all year long. Like for you building positions and kind of adding the portfolio, divisions I think are a great way to do that. And I think that the prices here are not necessarily always as sharp as some of the conference and title future prices. For me, I would much rather play division of those 3 because we got 82 games and we're out. And then we have a winner. And it's not like, oh, well, Giannis got hurt in game 81 and now he's out for the playoffs and there goes my title future. Like it's just 82 games and it's over. There's no championship game at the end. There's no fluke one outcome in the last game for most of them. It's a bigger sample size. So I actually think there's a lot to like with playing divisions.
When you approach, because you've given me some of your percentages on the chances of these things, how did you reach the percentage numbers that you've got for each division? Because I don't have this done. Like you've got all the bets that you've made, which don't give me them yet. We'll get to them. But how did you reach your percentage chance that they were going to win the division? How did you come up with that number?
Yeah. So it's kind of the end of my long process of getting ready for the season. So as I go through the season, and we'll talk about when we get to these teams later on, I'm looking at, okay, who's in, who's out, what are the changes from last year to this year? What was the offensive rating last year? What was the defensive rating? I'm kind of like building the team profile. And as I do that, that all leads to, okay, so where do I rate them this year? Like, what's the range of outcome, offense, defense? And then what does the range of outcome look like realistically for win total? And so I'll have like, all right, this team, I put them at 50 to 56 wins. This other team in the division, I've got them at, 46 to 54 wins. Maybe it's a little bit wider because it's a little more uncertainty. And so then I'm basically taking those win ranges. And then if we're going to nerd out a little bit here, I'm thinking of like kind of a normal curve distribution,
Sure.
and thinking, okay, well, what's the median outcome? That's basically the one right in the middle for the most part. And then, okay, well, what's the likelihood that they're hitting that high end? And for the top team, for the favorite, what is the likelihood of them hitting that high end or median? That's probably going to be enough to win in most cases. What's the percentage likelihood of that? Just based on like a standard normal distribution sort of thing. And then especially more so as, okay, if you're going to look at the second favorite or the third favorite, did the favorite, if they hit their 25th percentile outcome or the 10th percentile, something on the lower end, that's where the door opens. But it's not just the door has to open. You need the Bucks to be worse than expected, but you also need whoever the team you're betting on, the Bulls, Cavs, Pistons, Pacers, you need them to hit the high end of the spectrum, or in some of those cases, the very high end of the spectrum. So it's kind of just calculating, okay, what's the percentage the bad thing happens for this team, and what's the percentage the good thing happens for the other team. They're mostly independent, and then you just kind of multiply them together, and you come out with, effective percentages of likelihood outcomes. And this is a math game for me. I'm a math guy. We got the numbers here. Each odds we're looking at is a percentage of that we need to be better than in order to bet on it. So then I just kind of start with what are my percentages, and then compile what we got at the books. And if there's an edge there, then that's the bet.